Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube. I'm still just making sure my mic levels are good. Hope everything's doing well in your life. Hope everything's safe for this quick impressions, because this week, if you're unaware, this is What's on the Tube. It's ActionX's premiere television show. Well, show where we talk about television shows. Normally, we would be doing episode by episode reviews of a currently airing show. Sometimes we're doing season by season reviews on finished shows or very long established shows. Or we are doing these quick impressions where I'm briefly talking about my thoughts on a show in 20 minutes or less. So this week, we're doing Fear the Walking Dead. Since last week we did The Walking Dead, and this week also my normally aired show I would be reviewing, The Rookie's still on hiatus for just one more week. We're doing Fear the Walking Dead. So yeah, here we go. Fear the Walking Dead. Where to begin? Because I feel like this show has had a very interesting trajectory throughout the past 6 years. I think it came out when I was just graduating high school. Yeah, it came out in 2015, so it's been a very long time. We're up to the 6th season at the time of this episode's posting. It's been renewed for 7. After that, who knows how long it'll go for. I'm assuming it'll go for a lot longer. Hopefully, considering the fact Walking Dead's ending in season 11 in 2022. Well, next year. I keep thinking it's 2020 still. I don't know why my brain sometimes just gets stuck in like, oh, we're still in 2020 because we're still technically in the pandemic. So I completely forgot it for a second. But anyway, yeah, Fear the Walking Dead. Now get on to it before I continue. Quick impressions here on What's on the Tube. Will not spoil anything beyond the first episode, so I will be only talking about things that are in the first episode. Other than that, the remaining, how many episodes there are, I don't really know anymore. That will not be talked about. So don't worry. You're perfectly safe. You're in the clear. So that being said, let's go. So with Fear the Walking Dead, I went into it, I believe, around the same time I finished Walking Dead, where I was definitely not there at the beginning. I believe I started Fear in 2017. So once I finished The Walking Dead, I went into Fear the Walking Dead. And my reason for going into The Walking Dead is, I said this in last week's episode for that show, but I'll say it again. I watched it because it was another case of, it was very overhyped. It was very popularized in my circle of friends, so inevitably I did watch it, and especially for the Negan stuff that came up, that was also a damn mistake. For Fear, it very much was like, it was still in the same universe. I said, screw it, why not? I think Fear was just beginning its second season at the time, because I remember a friend of mine, she bought me season 1 for Christmas, so I feel like that's where I started watching it. I'm not quite sure. I think that wasn't the case. I think I just watched it on Netflix when it came out. And then I think from there, I think after season 2, I want to say I was there live for season 3. I'm not quite sure, because my history with Walking Dead has been very fuzzy, because everything from 7 and then 8 is like, I purposely try to forget that time period, and Fear that came out during that time period as well. So sadly, it was a causality of what I wanted to repress. But before I go any further, so just going back to just episode 1, because the whole premise of this show was that obviously Walking Dead back in 2015 was at the height of its popularity, was breaking, I think it was like the highest rated cable broadcast show. So if you're unaware, if you're not in the big 4, which is NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS, and sometimes you consider the CW part of it, beyond those 4 to 5, everyone else normally never gets big ratings. Like, you never anticipate them to go beyond a certain threshold. The Walking Dead was one of those rare shows, next to Game of Thrones at times, that was very much, oh my god, here it is. This is the show that somehow says, fuck it. The ratings were huge, and yeah, so at the time they were considering as many things, even back then when I had my spin-off fever. Yeah, let's spin off. Let's do spin-offs. Let's just make another successful show with an equal high amount of ratings to make more money. And they did. And Robert Kirkman, who is the author, creator, writer on the comics of Walking Dead, which was everything was based off, he was prominently involved at the start. And then from my perspective, before we actually get to episode 1 proper, I was watching season 1 from an outsider's perspective. So I was seeing the promo pictures, I was seeing everything. For me, again, I was still very much of a novice when it comes to these type of things. So I look at the cast and I'm like, Y'all don't look like a cast of anything. This is definitely not selling me on the show. And again, obviously, of course, like faces should not. You shouldn't judge a show by its faces. You should judge it by the story. So I didn't really pay attention to that. And then when I was reading the reviews, it was like very more mixed to negative than critically acclaimed than they were expecting. Because I feel like the whole premise of the show was basically we are beginning at day one of the apocalypse. Because if I said this last week on The Walking Dead quick impression, this is not a spoiler. This is very basic one-on-one, which everyone will tell you when you are about to get started, or they will recommend to you. The show begins months into the apocalypse, into the end of the world, where Rick Grimes wakes up. That's when that show takes place. This takes place on day one, sometimes day zero at times. It's very much we're getting a perspective of how things were happening. Because for us, if you're a Walking Dead alum fan going into Fear the Walking Dead, you already know what's going to happen. But for them, they didn't really know. And that was the appeal for the show at the time, where this is just an opportunity to see a different side of the perspective. It was interesting. It was very much something like, oh, I want to know what's going on when people were like beginning. Because we heard stories, we heard what other characters did when they were where they were when the apocalypse started, or when this whole walker infestation happened. But we never got to see physically what was going on from that point of view. And so that was the appeal of the show. And honestly, had I been on The Walking Dead at the time, I probably would have watched it live. I probably would, because it sounded like an interesting premise. But I feel like, and this is where episode 1 goes. So obviously, you need a group of characters to follow, and there's a family. I think it's the Clark family with someone else. So basically, the title family that we're following are the Clarks / Madison's boyfriend as well, and they're very much it's a typical step family. Like, the mom has her 2 children from another marriage. I completely forgot how that other marriage ended. I don't know if it was a divorce or a death. I don't exactly remember. I think it was a death. Otherwise, they would have talked about it. They would have brought it up at some point in the story. And then we have her boyfriend, who is also a workmate of hers. So it's like, him being inserted into this like already established family, into this new dynamic, and obviously the usual steps, the siblings being like, oh, he's not our dad, that sort of thing. I believe that's what it was, because it's been a while since I see at the beginning of Fear Walking Dead. Because the thing is, and this is not a spoiler, but this is kind of just like a natural show progression. The show evolves multiple times throughout the run. It's gone like if you like right now, I'm showing you the season 6 opening theme. This is I'm not going to spoil anything about the context of it, but the thing you got to know is that majority of the characters that were at the start of the show will not be there at the end, at where we are right now. Definitely not. And it's the same thing with The Walking Dead, where it's like a lot of the characters you start out watching are not there anymore at season 10, which is obvious because it's the apocalypse. You're meant to see characters come and go. But to get back to Fear the Walking Dead at the start was a chore. I will say that. Episode 1 onwards was a chore. I knew I wanted to see where things were going to go. I feel like at the time I finally caught up. I was the end of season 2. We were just starting season 3. I believe that was the case. I'm not quite sure. I have to double check my facts. Oh, actually, no, wait. I think season 3 ended around the time season 7 was about to start. I believe so. I could be wrong. I don't know. I have to remember. I definitely know I watched season 4 live. I know that because there was the whole the crossover event because Fear. This is kind of because Fear is like setting at the beginning of the apocalypse. Walking Dead was like much further down the road, so people were just obviously when it comes to franchises, you talk about crossovers, especially with like for example the Arrowverse stuff being so prominent with crossovers nowadays. Well, back then, not right now because of the pandemic. So. But to get okay, I'm derailing a lot up here. Back to the episode 1, and just talking about that. Honestly, episode 1, I feel like Fear the Walking Dead, the first season, it had its moments, but it just never hooked me in. Like I kept watching it because I just wanted to know how the story continued. I did that. And because a lot of people will be like, if the first episode doesn't hook me in, I'm out. I'm not going to spend my time, more hours of my life watching the show. And that is a fair assessment. I very much understand that. But that's not me. If I start a show, believe me or not, I'm going to stay on board till the very end. Regardless of how many episodes I missed, how far up the beaten track I do. No matter what, I will stay on the show. So that case was in Fear. And honestly, yeah, the characters were some of them were interesting. I stayed on board, like, because again, if you're unaware of me, I care a lot about characters and I want to see where they go. Because so sometimes the story could be complete trash, but if the characters are doing something entertaining or I'm interested in those characters and I want to see where they go, I will stay. I will definitely be a little bit more invested. Fear had some of those characters, some that were introduced after episode 1, so I can't talk about it. But in the matter of episode 1, none of those characters at the start really got me into it. It was definitely like a slow burn, and the more you saw them develop, then you start seeing them become more richer, more deeper characters. And then as same with The Walking Dead, the more characters they introduce, most of them very smartly, some of them being very stupid for being included. You start getting that development, and then that's kind of where it goes. I will say this: you can, if you get for the first 2 seasons, season 3 is definitely a place of like, wow, this was where the show could have been, and then season 4 kind of like, I wouldn't say it's bad, but like the change up with the whole thing I can't talk about. That definitely threw me for a loop. I think where we are right now, I think it was a good payout because right now this is being. Well, I'm talking about Fear the Walking Dead and after season 6's first half just finished wrapping up. So I think everything paid off eventually. Well, I'll see how the second half, season 6 and season 7 goes. But right now, I feel like they're in a very solid place with the story. But that's the thing about these quick impressions. Like, I would love to talk about these more in depth, but I can't. So I can't spoil anything. I will say that the original idea they have for the show, I feel like they should have done something similar to what they're doing for World Beyond, which is another show I'll probably be talking about in a quick impression in the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure, the schedule's all over the place and I'm pretty much lost. But when it comes to that, what they're doing is that they're not going to do much bigger, longer shows anymore for The Walking Dead. They're more in the category of like, let's tell limited stories that have a set beginning and end. I feel like Fear the Walking Dead should have been that show. Like, let's keep the original premise where this is just in the first days of this story, of this apocalypse. I would have very much let's keep it contained. Let's keep it small. This doesn't happen in the show, so this isn't a spoiler. I would have been very much happy if like this is a 2-3 season thing, and the season ends with like it ends with all the characters dead, because no one knew how to survive this. Because the advantage that Rick Grimes and his group had in The Walking Dead is that eventually down the line even episode 1, like, and then a little bit into season 1 as well, they already had an idea of what to do. They know how to kill these walkers. They know how this all works. But then when it comes to Fear the Walking Dead, if they had just kept playing in that small circle of like, we're still figuring things out and like people don't know what the hell's going on, I feel like that would have been very much of a more interesting approach to have a limited season structure to it. Because I won't say what happens beyond the first episode, but like they definitely do not stay in that bubble for long. They definitely need to break out and like start focusing on the characters, which definitely was a big plus in my opinion. The characters eventually evolved into like, we want to see where these characters go, same to how The Walking Dead eventually approached things. So I feel like for me, because I really can't speak too much more because of spoiler reasons, Fear the Walking Dead is definitely a show where it is a chore at times, but there are moments where like there is a payoff to like getting to see these characters and letting them grow and letting them evolve and letting them, do their thing, and then seeing how they change and evolve and mature. Definitely that's something to keep an eye on. The story at times can get a little bit like eye-batting at times, eye-rolling at times, I will admit that. But I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot more good to Fear the Walking Dead than bad. and it's a very close margin. So if you're willing to stay invested in a show that like its quality just goes up and down so many times, I would say go for it. Otherwise, if you want a consistent show, well, usually there's no such thing as a consistent show. There never is, except How I Met Your Mother. That's always a consistent show. Let me tell you what. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for me. So I would still recommend it. I would. It's a very close margin in terms of good and bad. But I feel like with some of these shows you're bound to get that. But I do believe you get to a lot of the more better stuff most of the times than the bad stuff. Season 1 is definitely a chore. Same with season 2. But once you hit season 3, I think you're in the clear for a bit. Season 5, another day. We'll talk about that another day. So for me, I would sort of recommend it. You can find Fear the Walking Dead. I believe it's still on Netflix and definitely on AMC Plus. So you can go check them out there. I think they're still on Netflix. I believe so. So go check it out there. Otherwise, yeah, that's going to do it for me tonight, everyone. Well, today. I keep forgetting this post is the morning now. I keep forgetting. So if you're unaware, this has been a quick impressions from What's in the Tube, giving my quick thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead. If you want to see more What's in the Tube, besides these quick impressions, we do Nancy Drew Season 2 episode reviews each and every Thursday morning after a brand new episode on Wednesday nights on oh god, I almost said AMC. I'm like, oh my god, my brain is not working tonight. The CW, but free the next day on the CW app. We also do Walker episode reviews each and every Friday mornings after a brand new episode on Thursday nights on the CW, and then free the next day on the CW app. We're currently on a hiatus with Walker again. This time around, we're on break for 2 weeks. This Friday will be our 169th episode of What's in the Tube. Right now I'm producing 167, but this Friday will be 169, and we are doing another memories episode. It's not a review, it's not a quick impression, it's me rambling about a show, kind of like this one, but it's not really like this kind of has like a review sort of structure to it. So there's the review, then the sort of reviews, and then it's just me blabbering. That's Friday's episode. We're doing Zane's The Jump Off, the sequel to the hit Zane Sex Chronicle review I did back last year. So get ready. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to record that one after this one because I'm not sure how recording dates are going to go for me. So I'm just going to get them all out of the way because I'm definitely am able to do it now. So okay, behind the scenes stuff over. But we would normally do Rookie Season 3 episode reviews on this time slot on Monday mornings after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC. And then on Hulu the next day. But we'll be back with the Rookie next week. So stay tuned for that. But if you are a fan of the Walking Dead universe, stay tuned. We're going to do another quick impressions on Walking Dead World Beyond. I have a lot of choice things to say about that because I've been waiting to unleash that. I will not give that. I will not even give a tease because I'm just going to start on something and I don't want to start on something. I'll wait till that quick impression comes out. I think that's going to come out next week, Friday. Because we're back to normal next week with Monday and Thursday, so I think that'll be on the Friday show next week. So we'll see about that. But again, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more What's in the Tube, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com/ActionX. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live, which normally would be every Monday, Thursdays, and Friday for the main What's in the Tube show. Like, favorite, share of this quick impressions if you want to, but it does help us out, get us out there to other people who have yet to discover us overall on the channel. Helps us build us up in that YouTube algorithm that I no longer understand anymore because it's too complex. But at the end of the day, all the sharing is free. So just keep that in mind. Follow us on Twitter to be up to date any updates for the channel. Follow us on Twitch for any streaming if we ever get to do that again. And yeah. But until then, hope everyone's doing great out there. Stay safe out there. Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever watched Fear the Walking Dead? What are your thoughts on it? I would love to talk about it in the comments below. I'm always down for conversation. And with that being said, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.